I was never good with numbers, with algorithms, with math, right? That was always like my nightmare going to school, trying to grasp it and understand it. I remember the teachers taking their own break during the recess to explain math to me, and they would really try to explain, and I could see it, right, through the energy, through their faces. And so I would say they would ask me after, 10, 15 minutes, did you understand? Did you understand? And I would say, yeah, I understood. Even though I didn't, but I felt bad for them, you know, spending their time and not getting the message across to me. But with the words, it's always been different for me. And especially with learning new languages, right? I love the Romance languages. I don't know why. I have always liked history, ancient history, Roman, Greek, medieval history, right? And knights and castles and all this stuff. And for some reason, after just learning, Russian and English, it has become boring for me. A few years ago, just speaking two languages. And it got me really excited finding out new words and connections, in the languages when they intertwine and you're like, oh, this is where it comes from. Like the word koshmar, you know. Russians know this word. It's kashmar. It means a nightmare. And the French and the Russian languages are so intertwined, it's crazy. There are thousands of French words used in the Russian word and in the Russian language based on a daily basis, right? Бордюр, тротуар, жилет, visage, acteur, actrice, theater, right? And that's just like a few to name, right? And then the phrase el caballo regalado no solo le mira los dientes, right? Is what they say in Russia. Дареному коню не глядят в зубы, right? So it makes me excited when I learn new things and find these connections. And also, it helps me cope with my mental disorder, which is ADD or ADHD. I'm not diagnosed, but I fucking know this for sure. The fact that I can just doze off and be interrupted by a thought, and then another thought interrupts this one, and so on, and it just keeps going and going. And then sometimes somebody would be talking to me like they did in, the teachers in school would be talking to me or explaining some subject or reading, right? And I really fucking tried to uh, to be a part of it, to grasp the information, because I knew that at some point, I'd be asked by the teacher if I understood this or that, and that kind of fear, kept me in place. And I did really try to understand what they were talking about or reading, but this spectacular ADHD just would mess me up all the time, right? And so when I started learning French, right, and now I was learning more Spanish, I started realizing that is like a magic pill, right? Which the more you do it, the more focused you get. It's like your cogwheels, right? Your cogwheels getting back into place, and you start seeing things that you haven't seen before. You start understanding the way you wouldn't understand before. You start being able to focus on speech, right? On kind of the things going on around you, and understand what is, the most important, or what's necessary and what's not. Whereas before that, you were just like, I was lost, being in the dark and just hearing sounds and words and not being able to get to the bottom of it. So I've been learning French for a while through Duolingo and music and movies, and then stopped doing stopped learning French because I came to the States. I came to North Carolina. Um, Spanish speakers are everywhere in the States, and I've always loved the culture, the music, the dance, the salsa, bachata, merengue. I've even learned to dance a little bit. Um, I'm not there yet, but I do know a few things. But just the beauty of it, right? Of the language, of the Spanish language, the French, and then I want to go on to Italian and then German and then um, possibly Japanese after that, right? How it gets you, how I become like a super person. Um, Whereas if I don't do, just the homework or the tasks, just 10-15 minutes a day, whatever, the more the better, obviously. I am lost. I'm anxious. The anxiety comes from not being aware of not understanding what the fuck is going on around you. That's where the anxiety comes from. Um, so just a whole list of good beneficial things, memory wise, right? Um, the focus, concentration, the calmness, the confidence, right? All these things come from just learning these languages. And then obviously, the guitar playing, when each one of your fingers just on this one hand has to remember the chords, right? And then this hand is doing its thing. And then if you're also singing, that's all this multitasking happening at once, which is super awesome for the brain, especially for folks like myself with ADD. It gets you, that's how, for me, the curse becomes a total blessing, right? Is when you just do your homework, when you just do, what you're supposed to, like learning the languages, playing guitar, reading, listening to audiobooks, and so on. And then don't do what you're not supposed to. And then, dude, you're fine. Um, More than fine, as a matter of fact. And I also got to point this out is that learning Spanish for me, right, um, is like killing two birds with a stone. And let me explain what I mean. When sometimes during the day when I work, right, and I get, the chemistry with the brain changes and the mood changes and then the perception changes. And sometimes I have all these kind of thoughts from the past of how I was raised in a strict religious church, whatever. And the kind of the negativity going on in the relationships in the family. And then I have those thoughts that either I give into and then it makes me feel just horrible, right? Or I turn on a podcast in Spanish or in French, right? And my mind just transitions to whatever I hear in my ear, right? And it makes me feel good. And I'm able to get back to the task, right? Of not being interrupted by these what do they call it? Thoughts. The language learning and the guitar playing gets me away from that. and I could focus on the thing that I'm supposed to focus on. And so I'm learning, new things, picking up new phrases, words, right? The pronunciation, which is very important for me, right? I don't want to talk like this. Yo tango un hombre. Um, el caballo regalado. You know, I don't want to fucking talk like that. I love the small, intricate details in the pronunciation of the language of the words themselves. So I love to talk to native speakers. So I like to pick it up when I can hear it in the podcast, right? So there you go. I'm able to focus on what I'm supposed to focus on, and I'm learning new things, right? And I stay calm, right? And my brain, I can feel after, after a good, at least 10 minutes, I feel like a different person. I'm back to my normal self, right? So there's a good pointer and a good hack for anyone struggling with some kind of negative thoughts or anxiety about the future or something about the past, whatever, right? Live in the moment. And to be able to live in the moment, here are the things you can do, right? Find something that that grabs your attention and use it to your advantage. Right, there you go. I just wrote this down today in my diary. Yeah, I got an old-fashioned diary, right? I do poems in here. I do all kinds of shit. It's the topic of women, topic of psychology, religion, how the opposites attract, which is very interesting to me, right? I still haven't figured it out. The laws of irony, right? Why they work the way they work, and it's remarkable. It's it's incredible, and it's something that I can't grasp my mind around. Um, and then a whole bunch of stuff, just brainstorming and stuff like that. So I wrote down this thought, and it goes like this: Your thoughts, if put into flesh, are pretty much the people around you, right? Mean, good, bad, ugly, whatever, right? Smart, awesome. All these things are in you because this is a kind of like, like the solar system itself. And if you're able to change, they will also change, the people around you, right? Um, some are easier than others. Some you got to let go of, right? And fucking just part ways, obviously, right? But thoughts, if put into flesh, are the people around you. And if you can change, they can change. Because people notice things. People notice the details. Like they say, the devil is in the details, right? But God is also in the details, right? What makes me happy? Happy and fulfilled and being able to live in the moment is changing for the better, not expecting it for somebody else, but expecting it for myself, right? And sometimes all I need to do is just get my brain kind of hinged, wired back when the cogwheels of the brain, like the wheels that you see in clocks, you know what I'm saying? These wheels with kind of like spikes on them or whatever. Um, that's the kind of analogy I have in my mind that if I'm off, my energy's off. Sometimes I just kind of step back and wait for myself to rewire back to get back in the vibe, in the groove before I say something or do something, right? Obviously, that's not always the case, but I try to do it any chance I get. So hopefully, some of these things will help you out, right? If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And hope to see you soon on my channel. Bye bye.